Ezreal seems to be one of those evergreen champions in League, and he always seems to be at least a little strong in the meta. He even remains a strong champion deep into last season, ending with a 50.5% win rate. Now, even though that may not seem like a lot on paper, Ezreal's not only a high execution champion, but an extremely popular character. In fact, historically, he's been the most popular character in the game. So his win rate numbers getting naturally drowned out by his popularity is not really an uncommon thing, especially because a large majority of his player base can't get high amounts of damage out of his kit, and they don't have the mechanics to make him viable. Similar champions have this effect, like Akali, Jace, LeBlanc, Yasuo. They're all fairly popular champions, but they just have a very high execution threshold, so their win rates usually lie between around 47 or 49. Now, if they don't lie here, that usually means there's some balance discrepancy with the champion. A 50% win rate for these characters is not healthy. So use that as a metric to tell you how powerful Ezreal was last season with the old mythical Trinity Force. Now, coming into this season, he has been widely regarded as strictly the worst ADC in the game, immediately dropping with a 46% win rate, and then he had an emergency hotfix that edged him out to around 47. Now, how did this champion's win rate drop so much coming into this season? Well, there are a couple of reasons for this. One, Serralda's Grudge was a core item on Ezreal for a long time, and in its current nerfed form, it just feels underwhelming. Getting around like 21 or 22% pin the first time you buy it, it's just not good, and the slow being only for champions below 50%. The slow was such a key part to Ezreal, because you'd hit the Q and it'd almost guarantee your next few spells. It's really hard for Ezreal to use Serralda's correctly right now. And another thing is that his classically hard matchups are very strong in the meta right now. Jhin is a very strong champion with the new lethality items. Draven, very good ever since the launch of the season. Lucian's been extremely good as well. But the most important change as to why Ezreal's weak is probably just that the Sheen items really, really suck. And there aren't any competitive options. Ezreal's always been dependent on these items to perform, and the fact that they're so weak right now is probably a large part of what's tanking Ezreal's win rate so much. But here's the interesting part. If this champion is so apparently horrible, then how have I managed to have an 80% win rate across 15 games with Ezreal? The answer is that there's a hidden third secret Sheen item that nobody's talking about. And no, it's not Lichbane. I'm not Bob is here trying to preach to you AP Ezreal or anything. I'm talking about that one. Yeah, the cursed secret forbidden dark knowledge. The blood song. Yep, the support Sheen item. I know it may seem strange that AD carries would build support items, but trust me, it's not just me who believes that this is a strong thing. In fact, it's being quite well documented right now. In fact, here is a clip of 2023 World Champion AD Carry, T1 Gumayusha, playing support item Lucian in the LCK professional stage. This is no joke, people. Support item AD Carry is strong. It is strong. Now, while I was sitting back watching these games and seeing them build these Sheen items, and even fighting a few Lucians in my solo queue games who built the support item for the Sheen, it got me thinking about this character that I love playing. I was thinking about Ezreal and how bad the other Sheen items were. And I was like, wait, you're telling me the Sheen item will get an instant PTA proc on them, and I don't have to pay anything to get the item. It's just 400 gold, and it pays for itself if I play with it correctly. Well, instantly, I had to queue up and see what the support item shit was all about. So the strategy I developed for Ezreal was that I wanted to stack a lot of lethality in the build to make up for the fact that Serralda's Grudge was nerfed. and I wanted to get somewhere around that 30% penetration I got from the item again. And lethality is just a strong stat to fit into your builds regardless nowadays. So I wanted to make a lethality based Ezreal build around the support items. So what I cooked up is that you start the game off with a Dorn's Blade because the item's overstated and OP and they intentionally made it that way. So on your second back, over tier, yes, over tier on Ezreal, I prioritize getting that support item. And some key components to know how to properly lane with the support item is that you want to use all of the hits on it on the casters, because caster minions usually only give 14 gold, but with the support item, you'll be getting 20 gold from them. You're actually earning money from the casters with it. Now, naturally, farming a lot, you are going to get that support item quest eventually, right? That's the shitty part of this. But if you game the system a little, you can get more value out of it than you probably should be able to. One is that your support will be using their stacks as well, and that will not count as CS towards your penalty. And likewise with you to your support. So your bot lane's getting more gold overall. Two is that you passively generate gold from the item, and once you get it to tier 2, you're going from 3 gold per 10 seconds to 5 gold per 10 seconds, which is an extreme upgrade. And number 3, this is a strategy that has been taking over the game a little bit. I'm sure you've all seen it in your games, where as soon as these fucking grubs spawn, every player on the team will run there. And it's like a 5v5 team fight at 7 minutes whenever the grubs spawn. And it's absurd. It's absurd that the game is in this state. So because of this, I think bot lane priority has dropped significantly, which means you're not going to want to be pushing your lanes out as much, especially if you have to play on red side, but that's a whole other can of worms. So what I like to do is to play my lanes a bit slower and try and go for freezes and go for slow pushes so that you can take long backs and farm for long periods of time without hitting the minions, so you can get the penalty reducted from you. And this also means that if you slow push, you can rotate to fight to grubs if you need to be there. Because the way the game is played right now is way different than it's been other seasons. You kind of are forced to fight for these grubs because if the enemy team gets 5 or 6 of them, the game becomes very difficult. Very, very difficult. Contesting these grubs is super important, and you need to do it if you want to win. So with all this importance being put on the early game, I think the lethality, as we all know, has been strong, but lethality hasn't really been a thing on Ezreal, but I think now more than ever, lethality is now for Ezreal. These are the builds. You're getting the free Sheen item, so you get to rush lethality immediately. And this has proven so strong that I think even after this gets patched out, I might build a Sheen later. Just because the lethality rushes might just be more damage. It legit just might be stronger. So I like to go Hubris first, just because it stacks, it gives a lot of AD, it gives you a lot of agency, you get to scale. Hubris is just a solid item, and I've really liked this item ever since they gave it that hotfix buff. It really helps you snowball and solo carry games. Hubris is my favorite item in the game right now. Second item, Mana Moon. It's a classic on Ezreal. It's very high damage. You'll always need this on Ezreal. And around this time, you'll be getting your Blood Song. And you'll basically have the power of 3 items while your opponent is at 2. And you are so much stronger than every other character on the map at this power spike, and you want to abuse it to the maximum capacity. You want to be everywhere and try and pick fights with everyone. It is so incredibly strong being at this power spike, and there's almost nothing in the game that can match this ADC support item power spike right now. Yes, as much as I hate to admit it, ADC is a strong role right now, for sure. With the support item stuff, ADC is a strong role. Then after that, I like to go Voltic Cyclo Sword, just because 100 extra AD on your attacks that you build up with the Energized passive, it's just good. And when you blink with E, you get it up faster. It's a lot of damage, and it gives you lethality, which I've already stated is the new wave for Ezreal. And then last, you usually want the Sereldas, so you can finally get the cash out for building all that lethality. The exposure damage gets so high that you get utility not only for your own damage but your team's damage. It's like 8%. Like you get an entire PTA proc instantly off the Sheen. It's so incredibly strong. I legitimately believe Ezreal is a hidden OP champion right now, and I'm trying to convince people otherwise. Enjoy this build while it's still in the game, and good luck with your climbs.